Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. Howdy everyone, it's your boy, Cthulhu, and one of the things that I've been super psyched about is seeing the evolution of Mega Man style games. Now, Mega Man has kind of been like a deadbeat dad popping up every once in a while to ask if you're winning son, while your stepmom Capcom releases another Street Fighter skin. Developers like Inti Creates have been hitting it out of the park and filling that void with games like Azure Striker Gunvolt, and for me, Luminous Avenger 9, my personal favorite. And further refined and innovated thanks to, in no small part, by the indie community and die-hard fans. Oh yeah, you got games like Spark the Electric Jester, Freedom Planet, just to name a couple, which adds more of a Sonic element to it, but nonetheless advanced the genre in such a unique way, while still really sticking to the roots and giving fans what they love the most. The whole section of games to me is starting to come into its own as to what I feel like a subgenre of the 2D platformer, and have generally been moving into something that feels reminiscent of a Hotline Miami-like experience, requiring great fast thinking, razor-sharp reflexes to get through the level as efficiently and as fast as possible. Which I think is super cool. Of course, we do have some frolics like, Mighty Number 9.
Cry like an anime fan on prom night.
Now, one game that I've always wanted was a Mega Man game with the speed of a Sonic game. You zip around, slashing things with your sweet sci-fi weapons. I haven't found anything exactly like that. Please let me know in the comments below. However, there is one that has recently fallen into my lap that feels pretty close. Now, if you look hard enough, there's always a game out there that's a particular scratch to an itch, which brings me to today's game, Code Bunny. Now, as a disclaimer, they did get into contact with me and offered me a free code to the game. However, regardless, this video is to be impartial about the game and to be honest, so only constructive criticism here. I did purchase the soundtrack because it's always good to support creators. Also, A, it's always nice to have some music handy, and B, unironically, this soundtrack blew me away with how many jams there are. Alright, now that we got that preamble out of the way, developed by Team 7 Star and subsequently released on itch.io on September 22nd, 2023. Now, I've never really been on itch.io, however, the process for getting everything downloaded and installed was super painless, although I had a bit of a problem hooking up my Switch Pro controller to USB-C. It just wouldn't work. Thankfully, I had my tried and true Snackbox Micro, which worked like a charm and was probably my favorite way to play. Now, they have a desire to release the game on Steam in the near future, but have been held up due to them focusing on finishing up college. Now, they've been pretty transparent about it, and I'll have their social media link below if you want to check any of them out. I follow Lavie for any future updates on the game. Also, from what I've seen on Lavie's X profile, they have been teasing future content such as a boss rush mode, a speedrun mode, and more to come in the future such as bug fixes. The game is about $9.99 on itch.io and is currently in a Christmas bundle for $30 with over 100 additional games if that's your jam. Now, I love it when a group of people get together who are inspired and dedicated enough to make something. And to me, it's so cool, it's amazing, and I think as a society, we should encourage that. The game isn't without its warts, and the game very much feels like it's in its early stages and can be a little rough around the edges, especially at the end. However, I think if the folks at Team 7 Star keep at it, they have something really great on their hands. Now, before we jump in, don't forget to hit that like button, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell for any future Cthulhu videos coming your way in the near future. So with that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Now let's dive into the game. Now, visually, this is a game that really wears its influences on its sleeve, while putting a little bit of its own unique spin on things. Hazel really speaks to me on a cosmic level. Axel is very unique with his skates. It's like I'm playing Tony Hawk's Underground. And enemies can be a bit repetitive at times. They do shake it up with a new enemy at almost every level. And to be fair, the ladybugs definitely do it for me in terms of like readability and being targets for hopping off of. Also, in terms of clarity, there was never a moment where I was zipping around that I felt like I was lost. Environments were vibrant and really stood out for the first half of the game and started to lose a lot of steam near the end, save for some moments. So other than the lack of enemy variation and near the end a couple levels lost some steam, overall I love the visuals. Forest of Morag and Yokkaido were my favorite levels, and as a graphic designer, the UIs were clean. I sound like an absolute geek, but they definitely stood out. They were very well designed, especially a lot of the like text elements and some of the like the little flourishes that you guys add in. They were super cool. I love it. Keep it up. Alright, the music is good. I'm a sucker for chiptune music. What can I say? I'm biased. One of the things that kept me coming back was how good the music really is. The music breathes a lot of character in the scenes, especially in the mission select mode. Like, you can't beat that. And check out some of my favorite picks. It's a good soundtrack. Wondrous Luster has a Sonic Studiopolis vibe with its driving beat, with a bit of some of that classic Mega Man chord progression that we all know and love, and that I never knew I needed in my life until now. Music is as good as it gets in this game, and if I had to leverage any kind of criticism, I would say that you can tell when the songs are being reused and at times can switch a little abruptly. It takes me out a bit, which is minor but noticeable. So let me start with, I love the gameplay. It's pretty short. However, this game has an incredibly high skill ceiling that can demand quite a bit from you, but is incredibly addictive and rewarding once you get a particular sequence down pat. There were definitely moments I just kept resetting and saying hold on like a teenager plinking on their guitar trying to play Wonderwall.
Yo, this is absolutely the run we have here? Okay, I'm cooking.
The game is very much a Super Hot or Hotline Miami of Mega Man-like games. Setting up, planning out, and being able to adapt on the fly in Code Bunny is very crucial. Now, levels are interesting and offer different branching pathways, similar to Sonic the Hedgehog, which at times is pretty cool. However, there doesn't seem to be any real significance in terms of happening and in terms of discovering those pathways. Playing optimally can potentially net you a higher score and better time, so I felt that falling down might slow me down. But as a caveat, I'm sure that there's another aspect to the game that relies on how fast you react to maintain a good time, or alternate routes that could be more optimal for certain characters. I feel that if there were some sort of collectible or upgrade in these diverging paths, there would be a bit more enticing, or ditching the alternate routes in favor of a tighter, more complex singular route that compacts all the good bits of platforming in the game. The last half of the game is a mixed bag for me, especially the last level, which for me kind of throws a lot of mechanics and skills that we've been building up kind of out the window. A lot of it felt inconsequential, especially when I just fell and I just looped in at like another point. I kind of just like zipped through, right? Although you can't have a level without characters to traverse in them. Each character is unique and offers their own quirks and diverge in the story by having their own levels. Alright, so I went through most of this game not knowing Hazel had a down slash, so I was an absolute chimp playing this game. Like, legit, I brute forced this game by straight up point blank parrying things that weren't even attacking. I started watching some gameplay and reviews of this game after I played, and shout out, please God, let me be pronouncing this right, Primeshime for saucing up these levels with a tech. I'll say it, I'm brave enough to research, and I'll link them in description. Especially if you want to see how nutty this game gets. The apex of Code Bunny is definitely when people get S pluses. I tried a little bit hard. I think the highest I got was like an S plus on one of them. Some of them are really difficult. I tried for a solid hour and a half on Yokkaido, and I don't know if it's because I'm just bad at the game. I don't understand the rating, but overall, but I'm like no Code Bunny professional by any means. I'm amateur at best, but there's a lot of cool things that you can do in the game, believe me. Okay, so Hazel Jones is a samurai bunny in jackalope armor that can shoot arrows at enemies and can teleport to and rain death upon. Keeping your karma up rewards you with more damage upon reaching 50 plus on your combo meter, gives you a massive damage boost. This comes at the cost of one hell of a caveat, where you take the equivalent of a Fortnite party bus amount of damage the more karma you stack up. Hazel doesn't have as many abilities as Axel, but makes up for it by having a much higher damage scaling, and her arrows have a pretty long range, allowing you to tag multiple enemies and zips you right across the map. She also has a parry, which I legit shoehorned into everything, even in things that where it didn't even belong. Side note, and I wish the aerial parry was a bit better. Totally relevant, but not a deal breaker to me for the character. Yeah, I think she was my favorite so far. Now, Axel, on the other hand, is absolutely loaded with abilities that as I thought more on it, makes sense. Axel has to work a little harder than Hazel in dispatching enemies and does it in a very flashy way, much like in Ice Skater. Essentially, Axel is as if Tanya Harding was recruited by the CIA as a Captain America-esque super soldier. This works in favor of their characters, as Hazel is a soldier with a chip on her shoulder, while Axel never wanted to fight and only acts out of necessity. Axel has a myriad of moves at his disposal, including a damage blocking shield at the cost of the EX bar. You replenish this by doing a rendition of Swan Lake in the enemy's faces, chaining multiple pirouettes into combos into a triple Axel.
Yeah, I get it.
To me, Axel is fun and I feel is the easier character to play with much less risk involved. However, the trade-off is taking less damage in exchange for doing less damage, which isn't much of a caveat because Axel does less, but he can just hop and zip off. I don't see a problem, as I would take that trade-off any day of the week. All in all, the core gameplay loop is fun, addicting, and is incredibly rewarding. Hazel and Axel are unique and offer wildly different playthroughs. Hazel was my favorite hands down to play, although I did start to warm up to Axel on his unique map. Riding on rails. More rails would have been sick throughout the game. I feel like there could be a little bit more divergence in terms of that. I really like the rails. I will say, however, The first half of the game is super fun, very well put together. However, once you get to the second half of the game, especially like the last 2 levels, things get a little bit shaky. I know I say this, I'm probably gonna leave it alone because it is a recurring trend throughout the game. And 85% of the game is fantastic. It's just that last 15% kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. The rest of the game is tightly packed, platforming at its best. Planet Lumna. The year is 2090. Decided not to go for 20 odd X. I can respect that. I would say too easy of a reference. Ether, the most powerful, versatile energy source ever discovered, has been coveted by the people of Lumna for hundreds of years. Technological advancements made it possible to obtain ether from its source. The comet, known as Yiliaster, Lygos Hyperbolics, a major tech conglomerate fused with Lumna's government of Xanadu, birthed a project aiming to harness the comet's ether, the Vi space program. Pretty cool introduction to the world, and I would say a great cold opening to the game. The game primarily focuses around our 2 main protagonists, Hazel and Axel, as they are on a mission to thwart the terrorist group Mad Bunny, and along the way unravel their mysterious goals. However, things aren't exactly as they see on the surface. That leads our characters to face challenges from within as well as without. I think the main cast is fleshed out rather well, and in between missions you can go to the talk room and get to know the characters better. It's a nice touch, and it's definitely easy to skip at times because it's very blink and you'll miss it, so in between missions, make sure to hit that talk room button. I think the characters are a highlight of the game and really give you a good grounding on everyone's relationship. Okay, so the plot as a whole had me a bit confused and gets a little bit more abstract throughout because the pacing definitely did not give any time for thorough explanations to the overarching plot. The character interactions and scenes are very well thought out and are really strong in terms of emotional beats and execution. Hazel's progression was actually really strong and had me invested in terms of the character's resolution. Axel, on the other hand, was a little bit weaker, still good, and had a revelation that was a little bit more tied to the overarching plot. Overall, I feel the overarching plot suffers due to its breakneck pacing, but really shines when it takes a second to reflect on character interactions and makes you just kind of sit with it. Shoot, it got a couple of ahs out of me, surprisingly, and the bones are there, and they've crafted an incredibly engaging world that has me invested, and I want more, so by all means, the story isn't bad, it just needs a little bit of air and a little bit more time cooking. Code Bunny is an incredibly delightful experience that at times can be marred by minor pacing issues. A very odd latter half of the game that has me torn, and a little bit of a jumble figuring out the game's mechanics. However, who I think would want to pick up this game wouldn't mind that. And who's this game for? I would say the hardcore Mega Man and Inti Creates fans who have been clamoring for more and have been dying of thirst in a drought of Mega Man games. And for those people, I would say $10 is a drop in the bucket, and for a well-made game that has 2 stories and potentially hours of replayability and a high skill ceiling, then yeah, go for it. For the casuals out there, it's a little bit more of a hard sell, but hey, if you're adventurous and you love scrappy games with a lot of heart, you really can't do any better than this game. And I would say for $10, it's a steal, and it seems to be continually being updated and supported, so hey, do it. I like it. Get it. Now, in the future, I'm going to keep my eye on this game, and the team seems to be committed to improving the overall experience. Now, if I had a wish list of things, you guys can take it or leave it. I really like the clock. If there was an option to leave it up when I restart a level in the upcoming speedrun mode or just regular mode, that would be cool too. Introducing collectibles that could incentivize exploration of other routes. This one's more of a would be really cool to have if there was a gallery. Totally not necessary, but it would be super cool to have some place to read bios, lore and such to really kind of like dig into like more of the world. I'm really invested in it. I think it's super cool. Refine and tighten up the second act a bit to be as strong as the level design in the first part of the game. And also, this is like a stupid one, but having a button to quickly restart the level, like, you know, in fighting games when you're in the training mode and you can reset to like neutral where you're training, you hit the button and you reset, I think that would be kind of sick. At the end of the day, what Team 7 Star was able to accomplish is phenomenal. This is a strong start to what I hope to be continued support and future installments from a group of passionate developers that I think have a bright future. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really appreciate the positive comments and engagements from the last video. I wasn't expecting a lot of views, but you guys really went above and beyond. Once again, thanks again, Violeta, for a copy of the game and reaching out. I really mean it when I say Team 7 Star is extremely talented, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Anyways, that's enough. Have a great rest of your day. I love you all. Bye-bye!